In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this lined tote bag. It has a pocket on one side and it has two pockets on the inside. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I have over 300 sewing and quilting videos, and I'm sure you'll find one that will be really entertaining and really informative for you. So let's get started making this lined tote bag with pockets. When sewing a lined tote bag with pockets, you are going to need the following. You are going to need 2 pieces for your external section of your tote bag, and mine measure 20 inches high by 17 inches in width. And because we're going to be doing a lined tote bag, we are going to need a lining to put in our tote bag. So these are going to measure in the same at 20 inches in height by 17 inches in width. And we will be sewing a pocket into our tote bag. And this is a really simple tote bag pocket. On the external section of my lined tote bag, I am going to have another pocket, and this one measures at 10 inches by 13 inches. I'm also going to have 2 inside pockets on my lined tote bag, and these are going to measure in at 8 inches by 9 inches. And you're also going to have a section of interfacing that is one-sided fusible, and that is going to measure in at the same 8 inches by 9 inches. Mine is a little bit bigger. I'm just going to fuse it on, and then I'm going to trim around the outside edges of this pocket. My tote bag is going to need straps, and I use canvas, and one piece, we're going to need 2 pieces that measure in at 30 inches by 4 inches in width. And the way I like to do my tote bag straps is by putting another piece of cotton onto the other side of one of these straps, and this measures in at 30 inches by 3 inches. Let's start by taking a piece of your lining for your tote bag, and we are going to make one of these very simple tote bag pockets. Take one piece of your 8-inch by 9-inch piece of cotton. Now, if you are using a piece of cotton that does have some sort of a pattern on the front, then you will be attaching your interfacing to the back side of that section. On one side of my pressing mat, I actually have a Teflon sheet, so nothing will stick to this. So I'm just going to place my pocket section down, and then I'm going to face my interfacing piece to the cotton piece. And don't worry, you will be able to tell which side has the glue, because it's rough on one side and smooth on the other. So I'm going to press this down. So the first thing that we need to do is create a hem all around this pocket, because we want to hide all of them raw edges. So we're just going to fold it over like 1/4 of an inch, and then fold it over again. This just hides all of the raw seam completely. Now we can go over to our sewing machine. As you can see, I have red thread in my bobbin, and I am not paid or sponsored to create any part of this video. I sew using the Baby Lock Soprano sewing machine. In the bobbin I have a white thread because I'm not going to see it anyway, so I'm just going to keep it as a white thread. My needle is a 9014 Microtex needle, and these are my settings. Because I have red thread in the top and white thread in the bottom, I want to be sewing with the red side facing up. And I'm going to sew along. Do the other 2 seams, and then do the last one last, like so. So we're just going to fix these 2 down. Once your tote bag pocket is complete, you can place it onto the lining of your tote bag. I would recommend pinning it. I know I generally don't use pins, but for this point you can. Now, if you want to find the dead center of your tote bag, you can fold over your tote bag pocket in half, create a crease, get the tote bag lining, fold it in half, and then you know where the center is. The only thing I recommend is that you want it to be a little further down, and you don't want it to be anywhere near the seams of the bag. So you're going to have two seams here and you're going to have a seam up here. So if you end up putting it too far up, you're going to end up sewing over that later on when we are doing the lining closing of this bag. So I would place it a little bit further down, if I was at least 2 inches down from the top, and then pin into place. And then what we're going to do is we're going to sew just these 3 sections, because we don't want to sew the top up because it's a pocket. We need to get into the pocket. So just sew these 3 sections of our tote bag pocket into place. If you want 2 pockets, one on either side, go ahead and do exactly the same thing on the other side of the lining of our tote bag. Now we can put the lining of our tote bag to one side, and now I want to work on that external pocket for the external part of my tote bag. So I have 2 external sections of my tote bag, like you should too. I have one which I have painted and one which I have left blank. And this is the side that I'm going to put my external pocket of my tote bag. So we are going to do exactly the same thing as what we just did before. We are just going to create them hems and we're going to stitch them all down into place. We currently have 2 external pieces of our tote bag, the front and the back, and the back has a pocket attached to it, so I'm going to put this to one side. And then we have our 2 lined tote bag sections with our pockets attached, and we're going to put them to one side. Let's concentrate on making these tote bag straps. I'm going to take the first piece of canvas for our tote bag strap, and we're going to fold it in half and press. Then once that is done, you are going to open it out and then fold one of these sections in and press, and you're going to fold in this other section here, so they both meet in the middle. I'm going to press these down. Now we are going to fold our tote bag strap to the center like so, and then press this all the way down. Do the same thing with this fabric piece as what we just did with the canvas piece for our bag strap. So on both pieces of the material, you're going to have a part that is open. So you're going to sew both sections down into place all the way down. Once you have sewed them into place, you're going to place one on top of the other, and you will see a little bit of the canvas just peeking through here, and it gives it a nice effect of a bag strap for your tote bag. So we're going to take this over to the sewing machine and we're going to sew this side and this side down. You should now have 2 tote bag straps. Let's start building the tote bag. On the bottom of each of your lining of your tote bag, as well as the external part of your tote bag, you want to cut a square out on both sides, like so, this side and this side, and it's 2.5 inches, both on the lining of the tote bag as well as the external part of your tote bag. And then once you've done that, you want to put these 2 right sides together. That's up to you. You can pin, or you can choose not to pin. And at this point, let's sew down this side, and then we'll sew down this side, and we'll also sew the bottom of the lining of our tote bag. However, we are going to leave at least 3 inches space gap at the bottom to turn the tote bag right sides through. So don't forget to leave that opening on the lining of your tote bag. This is how the lined section of your tote bag should look. This is stitched down, this is stitched down, the bottom is stitched, however there's a little bit of a hole, and also we have got these corner bits to deal with. So basically where you see this seam here, you will want to line this seam up with that bottom seam. So the side seam here matches the seam at the bottom underneath, and then you can grip it, you can pin it, or you could hold it into place, and we're going to stitch right along this tote bag, lining closed. This is one section closed, so I'm going to do it for the other side. So it's nice and flat. This is how it looks. And then you are going to open up the lining part of your tote bag, and you are going to match these two seams up to one another. You really can't go wrong. And then sew into place. So this is how our lining looks. We have sewed both of these corners, and we still have the opening still opened up because we're going to need this later. So let's deal with the external section of our lined tote bag. So this is the external section of the tote bag, and we're going to put them both right sides together. So my painting and my pocket are both facing. I'm going to put them right sides together, and we're going to do exactly the same thing here. We're going to sew this way and then sew this down, and then on the bottom part of this external piece of our tote bag we're going to sew it completely up. We don't need any sort of hole. The lining is going to be pulling through all of our bag, and then we're going to sew these two corner sections exactly how I just showed you. Okay, so we have the external section of our bag, and keep it turned like this, and also we've got everything closed up, so this corner is shut, the bottom is shut, and this other corner is shut. So basically you are going to have your external part of your tote bag turned inside out, and then you are going to turn the lining of your bag right sides out. You can push out the ends here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to place the lining of the tote bag inside the external section of your tote bag. And then you are going to line up your seams with the seams of both the external and the lining of the tote bag. And this is where I would suggest pinning or using a wonder clips, because you don't want anything to move on you, and you don't want your bag to be twisted. It must be important when Cass is telling you to pin, because generally I don't use pins or clips, but at this point I will do. And then I'll just grip this section of the bag and then the other section of the bag. And then we need to put our handles in. When I place the handles into my tote bag, I'm going to take this middle clip off, and I'm going to have the pattern facing the pattern of the lining, and I'm going to place it inside. Just watch that your handles aren't getting stuck on the inside of your pocket or anything like that. And then I like to have the handle just poking through just a little bit. So I'm going to get this handle into place. And then I'll get my other handle into place. Just make sure it's not twisted. That's the only thing that you need to worry about. Just make sure that your handle isn't twisted. And then line this up. Now you can find the center of your bag again to make sure that your handles are perfect, just by making that fold and then measuring the distance between the two if you want to be absolutely precise. The one thing I do recommend is when you flip the bag over, make sure that the handles are in line with the other handles. So I would have them perfectly matching one over the other, just to make sure that they're both in line with each other. So go ahead and insert your bag strap exactly like I did before, and make sure it's in between the two layers. So you have your bag strap sandwiched in between the lined section of your tote bag and the external section of your tote bag. And clip into place so it doesn't move on you. And like I said, just make sure that your handles are not twisted. Otherwise you'll have to undo everything and sew it all again. So I have one on top of the other to make sure that my bag straps are in line with the other side. Now take this over to the sewing machine and sew all of these layers into place. And you can see that my handle here is sandwiched in between the two layers, and make sure that your seam is still straight on with the other seam, and sew about 1/2 inch, is up to you, 1/4 inch, and you're going to go all the way around this lined tote bag. If you find that one of your layers is bunching up more than another one of your layers, it just means that you need to pull your fabric a little taut as you're sewing it through the sewing machine. It just means that one of your fabric pieces is more stretchy than the other. I didn't have this problem, but this is everything all sewn into place. So now what we need to do with our tote bag straps is just cut this section off with a pair of scissors. Like so, and then do that with all of your other bag straps. Now all we're going to do is pull the lining out of the bag, like so, and where this opening is, we're going to put our hand in to the bag, and we're going to pull the external part of our tote bag through to the lined part of our tote bag. So we're just going to pull everything right sides through. Now before we sew the lined part of our tote bag into place, just do a few checks to make sure that the bag strap is completely sewn into place. And it's sewn down into place, and make sure that all the lining is sewed all the way around. So you're just spot checking your bag. Just check that there's no holes in the bottom of our boxed out section of our bag. And also, if you wanted that feature of your bag strap to be on the other side, you would just sew them the other side. And if you wanted to change that right now, you could do that. You would just turn everything right sides out, take the bag straps off, and then turn them around. Now you're going to fold this section over, you're going to press, and then you're going to close this opening up by sewing the lined section of the tote bag into place. You'll have something that looks like this. All you need to do is place the lined section of the tote bag into the bag. Now this is what you are going to be left with. You're going to want to top stitch all the way around this bag. You can have it so a little bit of this lining is poking through as a little bit of a feature, or you could lie it flat so you can't see any of the lining. So I would go around and I would sew this flat down. And here you go, you now have a lined tote bag with pockets. So this is the front of my bag, this is the back of my bag with my pockets, and then you have the lined section of your tote bag with your 2 pockets on either side. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like and comment on this video. Bye bye.